For those individuals you speak about, Henry, in whom the flame of the spirit runs high, who are, as you say, all fire and radiance, they are the extraordinary expression of human life, like the five-leaf clover in nature. Most of us are just folks.
Yes, I know that. I know that. That's true, Ben. And yet, we don't get very far nourishing that idea. This is something I'm always against, if I may say so, to regard people as just folks. It's nice and folksy to talk that way, you know, and it means let us be warm and let us be sympathetic and all that. True enough. But do you know that sometimes, and I think even very saintly men have the desire, and they act on it too. They goad people. They have to give them a nudge. They have to give them a poke. They have to jab them to awaken them, do you see? They do that out of kindness, and they do that to make them aware of themselves, of their potentialities. There is nothing mean about or contemptuous in it, you see, but it's only to make everyone realize what he is potentially capable of. Most of us are living far below our potential, you see, and when we say just folks, we mean that, I think. All those people who are living below the horizon line, you might say, who haven't come up. They're there like a soft cushion on which we're all comfortably floating, do you see? It's true, folks, the people are what supports us, do you know? The people who do the dirty work, who are, again, without name, without honor, and so on. It's they who are doing the work of the world. But even they could do other work, could do bigger work, do you see? I don't think what is called the work of the world, this everyday work, you see, that gets glorified, I don't think it's really so important. I think it would be much, much better if people were told to be lazy, to shirk the job, to be idlers, to enjoy, to relax, do you see? Not care, not worry. I think we'd get all that work done in some other way.
Well, Henry, you said dirty work, and I think you mean daily work.
It's both. In a way, it's the two, you know. They are one and the same, pretty much. Daily work and dirty work, isn't it?
Fine. Well, if it's dirty work equals daily work, and if tomorrow is another day...
Yes.
And if you're talking about people who will float in self-contemplation or in self-expression, who is going to do the daily work, or doesn't the daily work need to be done?
Well, that's a very, very interesting, profound question. You see, Jesus said, you know, look at the lilies in the field. They neither toil nor spin. And the thought behind it is that we are creating this work not because it has to be done, but because we are busybodies and do not know how to swim on the river of life. And we prefer a kind of senseless insect activity to a genuine activity, which may often be no activity, inaction. Do you see? I don't say to be quiet, to do nothing. I don't say that at all. But I say it should have sense. It should have meaning, what we do. Do you see? And the greater part of what we do every day has damn little meaning.
Henry, you have taken a notable or a remarkable way to solve this dilemma. You say it's a common dilemma, and you've taken your own way of solving it by cutting adrift from standard activities, being a total individualist.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Can a man do this, refine his own personal flame and his own individuality and still conform in many ways to the demands of our machine society?
Well, you know, it's very strange. I'm going to say something that sounds like the very opposite of what I just said. And very often, you know, the truth has that quality that you can see it as two opposing things making one. What I mean is that a man who fully enters into the life which we have today and who does it very consciously and deliberately and enjoys what he's doing, it is almost as free, I would say, as the man who cuts adrift from it, you see. In other words, he's accepted. When you fully accept something, you are no longer victimized by it, do you see? But then, those are rare men who do that. Again, don't you think? Many times, of course, I look at ordinary people, so-called common people, humble people, I would say, and I admire them. I envy them almost. They do not question as we are questioning one another now, or questioning the world or its ways. They have never raised their voice this way, do you see? They have taken what it has been offered them to do, and they've done it. And in a way, there's something beautiful and noble and big about that. They are simple souls. They are souls who, even if they do not express it in terms of faith in a religious way, really they are moving like religious figures, do you see? They've accepted their lot, they do not complain, and they get the most out of it. Now, all neurotics, what we know about the neurotic is that he's a paralyzed man. Isn't that so? His emotions are very great, and they stymie him. And he can't act, or he can't move, he can't speak, he can't write or paint, whatever it is he wishes to do. He's always thinking. He's always thinking in the future, and he's thinking in terms of perfection. This perhaps is the worst thing about it, don't you know? Well, the surrealists, by writing automatically, as they said, discovered that there is a great release the moment you forget the importance of what you're doing and only stop thinking. Please stop thinking is what they say, and let it come out, because it knows what it's doing. Do you see? Yes. So often I would begin, I couldn't begin, but I began. I began with anything. And after a page or two, I found myself right in the groove. It doesn't matter where you start from. You always come back to what you are. You can't get away from what you are, do you see? Even the men who are, they take certain writers, they take a man like Flaubert, Balzac, Henry James, who are considered rather objective writers, do you see? They don't speak in the first person, isn't that so? And they have this great objectivity. They can build types, imaginative creatures, do you see? So it's always this something outside them. Nevertheless, no matter how much of that enters into their work, you can always see Henry James. You can always see Balzac, can't you? In everything that they do. Turgenev versus Dostoevsky, for example. Dostoevsky was delivering himself all the time. Turgenev was the polished stylist, the academician, you might say. But Turgenev can't get away from himself either. You recognize him in every line. Isn't that so? So it doesn't matter, as I say, how you approach a thing. You will always come back to your own self and your own obsessive themes. Dolly, by the way, spoke a great deal about the obsessive mania in the artist, as though to say an artist really is no good unless he is possessed and obsessed. And certainly Dostoevsky was a possessed man. Dolly strikes me more as an obsessed man, do you know? But at any rate, they're examples of men who are in the grip of something bigger than themselves, do you see? The other men are trying to avoid that.
What do you mean, the other men?
The other men. I mean those men whom the world looks upon more favorably, let's say, as more finished artists, more accomplished artists, the great novelists.
Name two.
Name two great novelists. Well, a Tolstoy, for example, as novelist, would be regarded in this way. On the other hand, I would put Dickens opposite him, a totally opposite character, type, do you see? And who moved the world more? I would say possibly Dickens, do you see? Who was a subjective sort of writer, who wrote, well, right from the immediate plasm of experience, do you see?
You think Dickens moved the world more than Tolstoy?
I really think so. I
You
think
mean
that
Copperfield
Dickens,
and Twist more than...
I think that Dickens is going to outlast Tolstoy, if I may put it that way. That he struck a deeper human level. And by the way, let's inject that other note. He was also a great humorist, do you see? This is his great, great quality. He made us laugh at ourselves, too, don't forget.
We're talking about surrealism, Henry. We started off talking about the demonic influence and people who negated standard, folksy human values like home, security, and family. I mean, people like Weisman and Aubrey Beardsley and Oscar Wilde and Aleister Crowley and The World Well Lost School, The Pale Blue Flower, Art for Art's Sake, and all the decadent, screwy writers. How do you account for it that a man named Baudelaire, who wrote wonderful poetry, said a line also, I think it was he who said, to be always drunken.
Oh, yes, but what did that mean? Be always ecstatic. Be always filled with a divine intoxication. That was the meaning of it. It wasn't drunkenness in the brutal sense, naturally, huh? Yes, but it was to be filled with a divine intoxication, yes. And who celebrated that more in his writing? Rabelais. Rabelais. I have a wonderful passage in one of my books quoting Arthur Machen, the Welsh writer, who talks about the long word lists of obscene things that Rabelais reels off, do you see? And he says something to the effect, observe that this is no normal, ordinary cataloging. This is something abnormal. This is something supernormal, supercharged, that it has a meaning beyond it, do you see? That it's a divine intoxication. Yes. And it's he said something to the effect, it's the best preparation for life to absorb this, to drink it, taste it. Yeah.
And Baudelaire, who in, I think, 1856, in the middle of the 19th century, found a link with Edgar Allan Poe in the middle of the 19th century. You certainly couldn't find two societies of Western world more different than New York of 1850 and Paris of 1850. Do you agree?
That's right.
And still these two men found a link like
yes.
Two wires
That's right.
strike a spark when they touch.
That's right. Yes. Well, in the sense they were both outcasts from their worlds. Poe, as you know, was a dishonorable figure, as it were, in American life or society. Isn't that so? There was something shameful about him in our eyes at that time. And Baudelaire, of course, definitely was. He had made himself such. I think Poe didn't try so hard. It just happened, because he went against the grain. But Baudelaire flung himself in the face of society. He spat on society, you might say, huh? Yes, and well, we have that, I think, Ben, all the time, that there are these correspondences in seemingly unlike places and unlike men.
I want to get back to why I brought those names
Yes.
up, though. You're talking about man trying to find a place in society today, and you speak about the liberated spirit of not being enslaved by the stupidities or by the rules of the machine of today. In other words, the big thing is to keep the flame, keep your own flame going. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Henry. What's the big thing?
In that book on Rimbaud, there is a coda at the end of that book, which is a sort of illustrated writing. I went to all manner of books for dates and names and titles in order to write those